Ever. Call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please read the meeting statement?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public and the press on January 17th, 2024, and was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bushieri. Councilmember Di Benedetto.
Present.
Councilmember Higgins.
Here.
Councilmember Sparta. Council President Rizzuto.
Here. Stand and join with me in a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Mayor, do we have your comments, please?
President, yes, I don't have much comments, but I just wanted to enter into the record, a land use board, class 4. I'm going to appoint Richard Spurrell to a 4-year.
Okay,
And that's my comments. Thank you.
thank you very much. Now I'd like to open up the floor for public comment. May I have a motion? So moved. Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Di Benedetto. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If there's anyone wishing to address the council, please approach the podium. This portion of the meeting is for agenda items only, and comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Thank you. Anyone wishing to address the council? Is there anyone online?
Jesse Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
Good evening. Just a couple of quick things. Why are you not following state statute with the reading of the statement of compliance? State statute says that the presiding officer reads it. It even says mayor. If there's a mayor manager type of government, but this is your meeting, council meeting. Why are you not reading the statement of compliance? You might think it's a simple, insignificant thing, but it's state statute. Can I know why you're not doing it?
I suppose, Mrs. Palladini, because as long as I've been involved with the council, we have always had the clerk read that statement. And I don't know if it really makes a difference. Since nobody has brought it up, including yourself, until just recently, I don't know why we shouldn't continue.
Well, the truth of the matter is that I didn't bring it up. I didn't even realize that somebody, an elected official in another town, brought it to my attention. So I researched the statutes, and in fact, it does say presiding officer. So the fact that you've been doing it wrong for as long as you're on the council is reason to not follow state statutes now?
I can only tell you why I think it is. I've spoken with other people who have approached me to the contrary, and they simply say, does it really make a difference? So,
Well, it makes a difference if you want to follow state statutes, but if you don't, I guess it doesn't.
thank you, Mrs. Palladini.
Yeah, I'm not done.
I'm says, is there anything else?
Yes. Just a couple of things I want to ask about on the bills list. I want to know what item 60980 is, snowshoe event. What was purchased for $981? Recreation program signs, $153. That's number 60992. And also number 61002, exercise program for $440. For as long as I could remember, volunteers did exercise programs. So I don't need an explanation for that last one. I would like to know what program signs and what was purchased for the snowshoe event for $981. And that's my only comment for now.
Okay. Are we able to satisfy Mrs. Palladini's request?
Sure. So for the snowshoe event, we purchased, fleece jackets, fleece blankets, and stretch performance gaiters. I think it's those ones that go like here.
I'm sorry?
Stretch performance gaiters. I don't know what that is, but there was 125 of those.
Yeah.
Oh,
So more clothing for recreation is what you're telling me, fleece jackets.
there was 125 gaiters post-purchase, 3 zip jackets, and 2 fleece blankets.
Did they come out of the entry fees?
They came out of the trust account.
Well, how does that matter? The point is, we really need more clothing for the recreation department? What are the signs for?
Can you tell me the check number again?
Yeah, sure. 60992. You know, I mean, it could come out of the I feel like buying myself a hat fund. You know, why do we keep buying so much clothing for the recreation department? I don't understand that. Thousands and thousands of dollars last year. Now, Mayor Rossi, in his first week of office, eliminated a wasteful spending of $7,000 for a program. Why? I've never known for the recreation department to be buying clothing for itself, ever.
That apparently came out of Mr. Mayor Burrell's budget.
I'm sure, yeah.
And the council has nothing to do with that. I could only refer you to, in this case, to Mayor Rossi, and I'm sure he's going to look into the situation.
So that one was for market here today signs, turn right, turn only, and 200 printed decals.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else, Mrs. Palladini? Okay. Is there anyone else?
I had a hand up, but I don't see it anymore. Just.
Nope.
I don't see any hands up.
Seeing no one else coming forward or nobody else online, I ask for a motion to close the meeting to the public. So moved. Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. In favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. We have a review of the bills list. Is there any comment or questions on the bills list? Seeing none, move on. Consent agenda. Resolution 24-44. Resolution authorizing and ratifying a memorandum of understanding with the National Winter Activity Center for use of the municipal parking lot. Resolution 24-45. resolution accepting the completion of road improvement project to various streets within Vernon Township. Resolution 24-46, a resolution appointment to the Vernon Township Municipal Utility Authority by the council. And this particular reappointment is Mr. Paul Carney. Resolution 24-47, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 455, lot 3, Miklovic. Resolution 24-48, canceling taxes for total disabled veterans, Miklovic, block 455, lot 3. Resolution 24-49, approving active volunteer firefighter for membership in New Jersey State Firemen's Association, Styles. Resolution 24-50, refund overpayment, block 631, lot 4, Belly. Resolution 24-51, refund overpayment, block 604, lot 4, Green Dyke. Resolution 24-52, refund overpayment, block 492, lot 43, Core Logic. Resolution 24-53, a resolution authorizing leasing of certain vehicles for the Department of Police, Sourcewell National Cooperative, number 060618-EFM, through Enterprise Fleet Management Services. Quote number 7687990, 7687991, 7687992-3 times Oxford White. Resolution number 24-54, a resolution authorizing leasing of certain vehicles for the Department of Public Works through Sourcewell National Cooperative, number 060618-EFM, Enterprise Fleet Management Services Incorporated. Quote number 771-8761, 771-8762, 771-8763 times 3 times Oxford White. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Should anybody wish to have any of these resolutions separated from the consent agenda, please advise, and I'll so do so.
I have some questions on them, but I don't know what the procedure is to ask
Procedure would
questions.
be to make the motion and we put it on the floor for questions.
Okay, so I'll move for that.
Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. De Benedetto. Are there any questions and comments on any of these?
Yes, just some understanding for me, from Donnell. You have a person that's totally disabled. They deserve to pay no taxes. They live in town. Let's say they're paying $6,000 a year.
Mhm.
Who picks up the $6,000?
The remainder of individuals who are not disabled.
The remainder of the citizens in the town?
Yep.
And is it proportioned by the 20% us, 20% county, 60% school board,
Yes.
or do we eat it all?
Well,
It's,
the refund, we eat that, but in the future, you're gonna ask like, where does that, that $6,000 a year payment go to? It gets spread out amongst the taxpayers.
so you just touched on my second question, that if someone has a refund, I believe the cap is about $97,000 a year earnings for somebody 65 and over. And if they make less than that, their taxes are frozen. There's no more additional taxes on them. And also if somebody says, hey, I challenge my tax rate, and they get a refund. Does all that come back on us, or is it proportioned properly?
No, the refund comes back on the township.
We end up paying all that then.
Yes.
It hardly seems fair, right?
By the way, I believe the threshold now is this is for the freeze tax, the
Freeze Act.
freeze act. Hasn't been reduced, I think 72,000.
I think there's two different things that Councilmember Higgins was referring to. One is the age at which your taxes can no longer increase if you're at certain income levels. And then also under the Freeze Act, if you successfully filed a real estate appeal with a municipality, they can't then go back and increase your taxes for 2 years.
Okay,
Those are two different issues and concepts.
Right.
how about the threshold?
I'll check on the threshold for,
I was told, I don't know for sure. So, thank you. Are there any other questions? Sir?
No.
Okay. Mrs. De Benedetto?
No question.
Roll call vote, please.
Sure. Councilmember Dean Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Public comment limited to 5 minutes. Any topic, may I have the motion to open the floor to the public?
Move.
Moved by Mrs. Benedetto, seconded by Mr. Higgins. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. The floor is open for public comment for 5 minutes on any topic. Does anyone have any comments or address the council or? Yes,
Heidi Reese, Vernon. I was trying to understand what was said about the taxes. When you say you have to make more, if you make, like, if you have no income or if you have little income, there is a freeze?
yes, if you go to the tax office, they'll provide you with the background and application for the freeze, the basic tax freeze.
Okay,
It's for people over a particular age and within a particular threshold. You should have already received your notification for your Anchor Act, which was put out by the governor, and this is a second program which freezes your taxes at a particular level, provided you meet certain
that has nothing to do with the senior freeze, though.
I believe it's the same thing,
yeah, I think they're related.
same thing, senior freeze, senior tax freeze. But you have to be a senior in order to qualify.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm completely, sometimes I never understood. What I understood is this, is you get a $250 discount for a senior freeze.
That have to be checked or,
Well, because that's what I've read, so I said, well, it's not much, but
hey, anything's better than nothing.
that's for sure.
But I think what the Freeze Act does is it, and I'm not sure how it works because I wasn't aware that I qualified the previous year, so I never went and looked at it. So I think what happens is, you pay your taxes, and if you qualify, you receive the difference between what you paid and what the state says you're covered up until, and you get a check back from the state. I think that's the way it works, but
It's so hard to follow.
so hard to pay the taxes too.
Oh, most definitely. Thank you very much.
But welcome.
Peter Knight, Vernon, good evening. I just want to recognize the really superior work of our DPW and other responders for the work they did over the last 2 snowstorms. I wake up frequently from pain during the night, and each time I heard the roads being cleared. So just want to recognize the fine work that the men and women do for us.
I'm sure your comments will be passed on, Mr. Knight. They certainly do a great job. Is there anyone online?
Yes, Jessica Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
Yes, the Vernon DPW has historically done a fabulous job. I used to work in Bergen County, and from Paramus to the Vernon line, the roads were always horrible. And when you hit Vernon, they were wonderful. So I ditto Peter Knight's comments. Mr. Rizzuto, no need to respond to this, but your statement that it comes out of the mayor's budget and you have no authority over it is 100% inaccurate. The clothing that the recreation department buys comes from the recreation budget. I just want to
Yeah.
tell you,
A moment, please.
sure, go ahead.
When I said the mayor's budget, it is the mayor's budget, the whole budget, and there are line items within that budget of the mayor's budget, which is, in this case, the recreation portion. That's what I meant. If I spoke unclearly, I apologize. I normally try and make sure that my comments are accurate. Thank you.
You're welcome. As I said, it comes from the recreation budget.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I want to let you know about something that occurred. Back in June, I spoke with the Department of Transportation on the signage for the scenic byway, and I had been working with them on it for approximately 5 years. The state was prepared to put up the signage in 2018, except at the time, Mayor Shortway went to the county and told them that he opposed the scenic byway. And the director of the scenic byway program got intimidated and backed off. And she said, I don't want to be in the middle of, a political fight. So I'm putting the signage on hold. So that's what happened. So June 2023, I finally spoke with the Department of Transportation, and they confirmed to me that they were in the process of making the signs and that all the signage would be up by the end of the year. So come August, Sally Rinker, chairperson of the Economic Development Committee, meddled in the situation, never contacted us, falsified a presentation before the EDAC, and misrepresented the whole issue to the EDAC and also to the legislators in Newton, who then contacted the Department of Transportation. And I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty of it. I'd be happy to tell it to you privately if you'd like. But here's the bottom line. What happened when Sally Rinker interfered, meddled, misrepresented, and falsified the presentation is that a back and forth began between the state and the county. And what happened was the state finally said, you know what? We're only going to put the signs up on the state portion of the scenic byway. The county is going to have to be responsible for putting the signs up on the county roadways. I have all of this in writing. And the bottom line is that the county can't do it now for several months because they're just really backed up. So while we were previously going to have everything by the end of the year, now we won't have it until approximately mid-year by the county. And here's the kicker. County taxpayers will now have to pay for that. Previously, the state was paying for it all, but because of Sally Rinker's misrepresentation and meddling, now you and I and all of the other county taxpayers will be paying to put up the scenic byway signage on the county roads. So I want you to be aware of that. And I also want you to know that it's now going to be postponed several months before it all happens. And that is the truth of the scenic byway signage. And as I said, I have all of the documentation to back it up. That's all I have. Thank you.
As you may recall, I disagreed with Mayor Shortway's exclusion
I do
of
remember. Yes.
certain portions of that. If you like, if bringing it up before the council or talking to the mayor, seeing if his support and bringing it to the council's attention will in any way assist you in making things move more smoothly with in your quest for signage and for completion of your project on the byways, please consider my support with you on that, and be glad to help in any way.
Thank you very much. You have always been supportive of the scenic byway, Councilman Rizzuto. And as the council president, I was going to approach you sometime soon to do a presentation for the mayor and council, the long overdue one that we had postponed during COVID and whatnot. And if we could do that at a meeting in March or at a meeting of your choosing, we would be very happy, and we welcome your help and your input. Thank you.
Meetings in March are quite possible. The only thing I would have to check is working with the mayor, because there are certain time-like considerations that he's going to be constrained with regarding the budget. So if there is no problem, there's no conflict with any of those meetings, I would be most happy to see
Okay.
what we can do in scheduling that type of a presentation.
Whenever you wish, we're fine.
Okay, and if
Thank
that isn't possible, certainly April would be great. Might even be better because you're approaching early spring, and I think maybe more people might be coming out then.
Okay, thank you.
Quite welcome.
Okay.
I have,
Anyone else?
yes, Peg DeStassi.
Mrs. DeStassi.
Good evening. How is everybody? Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year to
Two
you too.
things
And Pat.
that I would, thank you. Thank you. Two things I would like to speak about. The first one is simple. There was a new law that was signed in June. It's PS 2023C75, which increases the income tax for the senior freeze to 150,000. So I would suggest that it would be a good thing for all seniors to look into it. It's very available on the New Jersey tax program.
So what you're
Now, what I
telling,
really called in
excuse me.
about was,
excuse me, so what you're telling me, let's
Go
say
ahead.
this for the benefit of Miss Lees, the maximum, they've raised the threshold to 102,000, you said? 150,000.
150,000.
So-
Yes, yes.
So the
For
accumulated,
2023.
so the accumulated income for the household is 150,000, and so you, under that, and you qualify.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's what the new law says. And there's also a few other things they changed, but the income limit was the big thing. Okay, now, what I really started out calling about was that back in October, Vern received the results from the Wallace property, that testing that was done by Dewberry. And it was forwarded to Corey Stoner as the result. Now, I have been informed by two sources that the information is available. And my question to the council president, as well as the mayor, when are these results going to be released to our community? There are many of us who worry daily about the contamination that, by the way, I am told the report shows, to our wells and our families and our life. We would like to know when are these results going to be released?
We have not received any report from our engineer yet. I reached out to Corey today to check with him. I have not received a message back from him, but we have not received any kind of report from the engineers.
You have received it from Dewberry. I have it. All right. It has been received and it was sent to Corey Stoner back in October. I'm asking
we
the
never
council and the mayor to please take, I'm asking
Yeah,
the council and
I haven't received it that I recall. Okay, and And as far as Mayor Rossi, he was not mayor at that time, and I don't know if anything was sent to Mr. Burrell. So, would you be kind enough to send us a copy of what you have to make sure that we're talking about the same document? Hello?
We lost her.
Think-
I think she's talking about the results from Corey.
Yeah,
You didn't get any.
We didn't get anything,
No.
right? So we
No.
can follow up with him.
did we lose her?
I think you
I
lost.
believe.
Yeah, she's not on the screen, so we lost her.
All right,
I sent him a message today.
Okay. All right. That was only question.
all right. If she happens to call back, we can relate my comments to her and we'll see what we can do. Perhaps if, I want to make sure we're talking about the same documents.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up then.
Seeing no one else wishing to come forward, may I have a motion to close the floor?
Second,
Moved by Mrs. De Benedetto, second by Mr. Higgins. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Council comments. Mrs. De Benedetto.
I have comments, actually. So I didn't know if I was allowed to comment on the reassessment program, but I checked and I am.
Yes.
Okay. So I've been dealing with them recently on my reassessment and I've noticed some inconsistencies. So first of all, they rated my bathroom as old. And when I asked them why my kitchen was rated fair and my bathroom was rated old, they said because everything in my kitchen was working. But I had previously been describing my laundry room to them and the very old washer and dryer in the laundry room, and they said that they don't take appliances into consideration. So and I said, so then why in my kitchen, since everything is original from when the house was built, why is that fair and my bathroom is old? She said, well, if everything is in working order. I said, well, what would be in working order? You don't take appliances into consideration. So she said, okay, she would get back to me. Of course, I haven't heard back yet. That was the first inconsistency I found. So I encourage everybody to politely pull your property card. Just make sure that everything on there is accurate and lines up, because mine did not. I'm still waiting on resolution from that. There was something else I had too, but it's slipped my mind. That's it for now.
If it comes to you in between, Mr. Higgins?
yes, I just want to verify that most of these ordinances and rules come from the state, such as the reassessment. Is that a state law that was passed down to the county that then manages it with the town? How much of the responsibility do we have here in the municipality of the actual reassessment? Is it the methodology that we decide here? Or do we decide to do it yearly, every 5 years?
As far as I know, Ms. Bright, if you have any conflicting information, why should I try and do that? Perhaps you can,
Or you don't want to do it?
no, it's not all right, I'll pass.
Kristen was here. Okay, so as far as assessments, we're required to have everything at 100% ratio for market value.
That's a state rule?
Happens, yes.
State?
Yeah. Mhm. So what happens is, as you know, the market goes up and down, right? When you're not in an annual reassessment program, which is what we're currently in, so we have a full reassessment every single year. Basically a full revaluation of the township every single year. When you're not in that, what happens is what happened to us back in 2008, 2009, when we had a reval. So we had a reval in 2008, 2009. All the values were up. Shortly thereafter, all the values tanked. What happens with that, and it could be the flip too, is that you have homes that are maybe overassessed in certain areas of the township, right? Where those people can come in and they can, what am I trying to say? Oh my gosh,
Tax.
appeal their taxes. I couldn't think of the word appeal, sorry. To appeal their taxes, right? And now not only are they going to win, because based on the fair market value, they're severely overassessed, right? We then have to issue refunds, we have to pay for the tax attorneys, we have to go through all of that, right? If you look at the history of how much Vernon Township has spent in tax appeals, versus how many we've won, it was not a good track record because of that reval. What can happen over the years is that or I should say, what does happen over the years, every single year is that the county tax board looks at the ratio, right? And they might say, okay, Vernon, this year you're 95%, that's totally fine. Once you get under, I believe it's 90%, they can order and mandate that you have a reval. So what happened in, I believe it was 2016, 2017, the county mandated that Vernon Township have a reval because we were at such a low ratio compared to what we should have been at. We had to do tax math and stuff, so it took a couple of years for us to actually have our revaluation. That revaluation, after we did that, the township entered into a reassessment program so that we never got into that situation again, where we were severely either overvalued or undervalued based on the fair market value. The difference in costs, and I know Kristen has gone through this a couple of times, right? But the revaluation that we paid for was about $1 million in 2019. Right? In today's numbers, only a few years later, we're looking at about 1.5 million. There's not a lot of companies that do reassessments or revaluations in the state of New Jersey. Because of that, they're all over the place, right? So they can kind of pick their price. So we'd look at about 1.5 million, right? In the market right now, if we were to, let's say we didn't have the reassessments every year, I mean, based on our former revaluation, they could be hitting us every year with a mandated reval. I'm not saying they would do that. I'm not the county board of taxation, but they have the authority to do that. By doing a reassessment, it brings us up the closest we can, it brings us at 100% and then changes a little bit in the following year until we do that reassessment again. What happens is that reassessment program will cost us $500,000 over a 5-year period versus 1 year, one reval, $1 million, which you might have to have done again a couple of years later.
So it's a 10-year program and it's 20% of the residents every year. So it's a 5-year program then?
Yes, the reassessment program is a 5-year program.
Right, and that was a decision on the town's part? That was a,
So the township chose to do the reassessment program, but the county can mandate that.
yeah, so it's, they demanded it, but it was up to us to pick out the terms, I guess, whether it's 5 years or
No, the reassessment program is a 5-year program.
it's 5. So it's all been pushed down on us then.
Yeah, taxation is mandated and regulated by the Board of Taxation. There's nothing, I don't want to say there's nothing, but there's a lot of things that restrict the townships. You know, if the township chose to not do reassessment, let's say they didn't choose to do reassessment, and then we had that reval in 2019, we probably would have been mandated already to do another reval because of the way the market is.
So what variable can we be criticized on by the taxpayers? What did we do? Other than I'm hearing everything is being forced on us. Was it just the company that we chose to do it? Was that something we could be having pointed fingers at? Or was it something else?
So there's still set standards. I mean, I can't really speak, I'm not a certified tax assessor, so I can't speak to when they go out there, what they're looking at. I have no idea about old kitchens, new kitchens, right? But there are set standards in the field and every company has has their own set standards, but it's the set standard across the industry that are used when they go out and they assess properties. I mean,
There are companies that actually bid against each other to get that contract, right?
yes, I don't remember if we did
How many?
did an actual bid.
There aren't a lot of companies
think
that
there-
do this work.
No,
I think
there were
two in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand, it's mostly out of our hands, is really what's happened here. Pushed down from the state to the county to us, it has to be done. Is that an accurate statement? Could we say no, we're not gonna do it?
If they mandate a reval, no, I can't say no.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about, I think we have to be careful that when we talk about the two different programs. Now is the 10-year program that's required. And hence it's very expensive because each residence must be visited and checked against the property cards and so forth.
Mhm.
Then there's the reassessment program, which is what we're doing. And right now, and that takes place, over a course of every year for 5 years. 20% is taken out as a representation in particular property, neighborhood areas. But the balance of the 80% are not visited, but if I'm not mistaken, that 80% is evaluated against current comps, if you want
Yes.
to take that.
Yes.
That's correct.
So every house can be influenced in terms of either by comparison values or by, eyes on situation. And I think what's happened is many of the employees of these people that come by sometimes may not handle a situation well. I also think that sometimes taxpayers may say, you can't come in, maybe because my husband isn't home, I'm afraid of saying the wrong thing or whatever, and they say, you can't come in. And I do know that they will offer to make an appointment at any time, and that if you choose not to allow them to make an appointment or to come in, they are able to make declarations on values based upon your exterior what they're able to discern off of the looking at the house just in front of them.
Mhm.
Number of rooms and number of windows and what may be considered a bedroom, what may not. And if you don't let them come in, they do have the option of declaring the highest possible levels. My experience with the company that we use right now has been very, very fine. I mean, gentleman came up, was very polite, said he wanted to come in. I started chatting with him. He said, I said, what happens if I can't, if I weren't here? He said, I would just simply leave a message and so forth and so on. And I said, what are you going to be looking at? And he told me, he says, just checking against your property card. And we make a move from, we go from there. So, and then but I think what people also have to look at, correct me if I'm wrong, is the difference between my assessment went up versus my taxes went up. They're two different things.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
All right, and in some cases, you can have your assessment going up, your taxes going down. You can have your assessment going down and maybe your taxes going up or some other combination of those two items. But the fact remains that when the township declares how much tax it needs in order to fund its operations, you can't get more than you need. So, so what happens is you either, your tax rate goes up or your tax rate goes down. And that depends upon the universe, meaning your total amount of taxable property. And when I was talking the other night when we reorganized about the tax, help me out,
Assessment.
I'm sorry,
So reassessments, were you saying?
no, for it's the result of dividing the
Equalization ratio?
equals, yeah, right, the,
Equalization ratio.
yeah, that's based upon taking the net value of your last three of the net equalization ratio is your net value of all of the value of your properties in the township. and dividing it by the average of the last three, um,
Valuations.
huh?
It's are you talking about the debt?
Yeah, your debt asset ratio.
Yeah.
Right.
By the last three debt asset ratios. And ours this year was 1.009, which was rather favorable for the township in the county. And other counties weren't quite as favorable. So when you begin to start looking at what Vernon has a lot of property. When you start looking at it, I think it's something in the area of 2 billion, something or other. It's
That,
huh?
more than that.
More than that, yeah. I think it was 2,400,000,000, something or other thousands. It's an astounding number. You're saying this township?
Right.
It's pretty good, so.
I think you answered your question. The reason I ask, I want the public to understand as well, the difference between revaluation, reassessment, how much of it is on the town that has to do this, as opposed to the state passing it down to the county. We can't just sit here and say, we're not doing it. It's just.
Right, and to be clear too, the revaluation, so our reassessment program is a 5-year program. The revaluation though, I think historically people go, oh, it's a 10-year thing. It does not have to be 10 years. If your ratio suddenly plummets because of the market, which is what you would see today, they can mandate it at any time.
Right. The only thing that's really unfair to a taxpayer, somebody buys a home for $200,000. That's all they can afford. And then all of a sudden it's worth $300,000. And they're taxed as if it's worth $300,000. That's almost a capital gains tax without selling the property.
Literally
Really?
exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, that's
Exactly what happened to me.
Totally unfair.
It is,
Yeah, if
and
you
it's
let-
arbitrary because the properties selling around me are selling for the price they are because you don't just sell your house, you fix your house up to maximize the value you're going to get out of your sale. I'm not doing that in my house. I'm just living there. I'm not fixing things. I'm living there, right? So and to sort of like, go back to the last point I was making, because I sort of it was a word salad, but my point is pull your property card. You can contact them to pull your property card and just make sure it's right. Just be polite when you do so, please. But do it.
But the other thing that I forgot to mention is that as these reassessments drive your value up, let's say you bought a house at 300,000 after a course of a few years, 4 years, 3 years, whatever it is, your house is now worth, $100,000 more.
Well, what does that do for me?
It-
Nothing,
Except when you want to sell it.
which I'm not.
Well,
So
I
it's
agree.
nothing.
But what happens is there is a way of getting that difference back. And that is when the market begins to deflate.
Right.
And if it deflates, then your values should begin to go down, and your taxes should begin to decrease.
But in the meantime,
But in the meantime, you're still paying the higher levy.
Right, you're in a cash crunch.
You're in a
Yeah.
cash crunch.
I have asked Kristen to possibly, we can hold some kind of public forum, public meeting about the tax reassessments. And possibly looking to see if I can get the appraisal company in on it too. So
that'd be great.
if anyone has any questions, we can just roundtable it and maybe answer all the
Thank you.
questions. So it's something that's in the works. It's just a matter of just planning it and
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions regarding that? Kind of arbitrary sometimes. Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Bright, appreciate it. Any other comments?
And you on
Fine, okay.
council comments, I
I have no further
I do
comments.
have, Mr. Stassi back on. I didn't know if he wanted me to.
Since it was a technical, I'll
Okay,
grant her, give her the opportunity to complete her thoughts.
okay.
Ms. DeStassi?
Thank you so much. As typical in Vernon, we had a little minor electrical interference. And that's the way it is here. Anyway, my final thoughts, and thank you, Council President, were that I would like the Council President and the Mayor to please check into this. What's taking so long to protect our residents? Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
great night.
Thank you, Mr. Stassi.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. I've talked enough this evening and I have no further comments, so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved. Moved by Mr. Higgins. There's a
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. See you in a few weeks.
Fired up when we start talking about these reasons. I'm fired up.
Could see you just jump.
I know.
Kick me in.